life in the country is better, and there are greater opportunities and prospects for all Gambians. Nationally, we are better organized and united. Internationally, the image and status of the Gambia has changed as we are more active on the world stage than ever before. Such successes have not gone unnoticed outside the shores of this land. Thus, there will be a continual attempt to disrupt these positive trends and undermine the fabric of our social life. Fellow Gambians, friends of the Gambia, distinguished ladies and gentlemen and viewers. The history of this world is blighted by incessant acts of exploitation, domination, suppression, discrimination, and of late, conditions tied to hidden agendas. Hence, the emergence of structural resistance and revolutions that are guided by emancipatory ideologies and radical socio-political projects. The lesson is that all peoples must take into their hands the protection and furtherance of their interests, resources, lives, and sovereignty as they consider it fit. This also goes for Gambians. No one else can determine our destiny for us, and no one will come to build the Gambian nation for us without any hidden motive. In opting for responses to external forces, we must distinguish between the honest and genuine friends of the Gambia and those who seek to embark on expansionist caprices. Therefore, we are thankful to the true friends and allies of the Gambia and wish to reassure them of our support and cooperation at all times. One wonders sometimes how certain myopic nations and regional bodies think and behave. The world must know that Gambians are not politically blind, nor gullible and naive enough to swallow whatever the West metes out to us. Let me repeat. The world must know that Gambians are not politically blind, nor gullible, and naive enough to swallow whatever the West metes out to us.
His Excellency the President, Chair Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, delivering his annual Independence Anniversary message to Gambians. The President of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiang Nguema, and Prime Minister of the Ivory Coast this evening touched down at the Banjul International Airport, having been invited by the Gambia government to take part in the country's independence celebrations, scheduled to take place tomorrow Monday at the July 22nd Square. Abdunjai has details in this report.
The stage of distinguished personalities from across the continent. A number of delegates have already made it into Banjul over the past 24 hours, and they have been followed by the Prime Minister of Ivory Coast, His Excellency Daniel Kaplan Duncan. He was welcomed at the foot of the aircraft by the Vice President, Her Excellency Ajah Dr. Aissatou Seydi, among a host of senior government officials. There was a guard of honor to inspect and groups to cheer him through, but above all this was the lineup of government officials, diplomats, and the Security High Command to give the Ivorian top man a befitting welcome. Prime Minister Duncan was escorted off the airport soon after the protocols. Arriving shortly after the Ivorian Prime Minister was the President of Equatorial Guinea, His Excellency Teodoro Obiang Nguema Bazogo. His flight touched down at the Banjul International Airport, making him an official guest of the Gambia and that of His Excellency the President, Chair Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, who received him and his delegation at the foot of the aircraft. The two leaders went on to observe the various protocols lined up for his arrival, including the guard of honor mounted by detachments from the Gambian military. The airport was never short of the attributes that usually characterize such arrivals. It was spontaneous and special in every way, giving a lead as to what to expect during the main celebrations at the July 22nd Square. It is, after all, the Gambia's 48th anniversary of independence, a status that confirms the maturity of our people who have since then taken the mantle of leadership. But the divide between the First and the Second Republics is decisive, regardless of how it is measured. And Obienge no doubt saw the difference in the streets leading from the Banjul International Airport right to the Cuckoo Ocean, where he was installed. The President of the Republic stayed for a while with his counterpart before leaving for Banjul, where he hosted hundreds of dignitaries and delegates, including the Prime Minister of Ivory Coast, to a reception at the State House. The program was also graced by the Vice President, Her Excellency Ajah Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi, senior government officials, and members of the diplomatic corps. Abdou Njie, GRTS.
The Gambia will clock 48 tomorrow, Monday 18th. And in keeping with tradition, Christians and Muslims have been offering special prayers for the nation, its leaders and people in churches and mosques across the country, like this one in the Lower River region. One such prayer meeting was held under the aegis of the Pastors Intercessory Fellowship at the Gambia Pastoral Institute. Gambians from various walks of life are warming up for Monday's independence celebrations in calm anticipation. Giving their opinions on the significance of tomorrow's program, the people said the Jammeh administration's development track record should inspire and motivate the masses to continue their support to the developments being initiated. Ibrahim Balde traveled to some indigenous settlements in the rural Gambia to gather first-hand account on what political and economic independence means.
The road to independence was a protracted and assiduous struggle. The role played by rural communities in terms of identifying and expressing solidarity messages with the then torchbearers reverberated during and after the epoch-making event. 48 years ago, some of these development projects were not there. Independence, according to the various people we encounter, means self-governance and the ability to initiate development programs for the benefit of the masses. On access to education, Sefo Yaya Jajusi said the Jammeh administration should be commended for revolutionizing the education sector through the construction and expansion of educational establishments in the length and breadth of the country. At independence, an indigenous settlement like Soma had only one primary school. Jajusi said President Jammeh's record in this area should be seen within the context of a visionary leader who wants the best for his country. Elsewhere in the countryside, developments continue to be the hallmark of the Jammeh administration, with the construction of iconic structures that were hitherto missing during the 300 years of colonial rule.
At a time when thousands of Gambians around the country are marking 48 years since the country gained independence from the United Kingdom, it is appropriate at this time to look at indigenous settlements such as Bansang. 48 years ago, where were some of these structures? If they were there, let's look at how rural-urban migration has adversely contributed to the development of rural communities.
Alaji Sen, a native of Bansang, said he was happy when a year ago the national broadcaster employed him as a technician at our transmitter in Bansang. Having been away in the combos for several years, Sen said his return has enabled him to connect with his people and take part in the development of his native community.
Being in Bansang, working in Bansang, is like, I'm very happy because it's not everything that is in Combo. You cannot have everything in Combo. Okay, me, I'm from Bansang, I'm working in Bansang. Okay, it's an advantage of working in Bansang because now if you're working at your own home, you can develop so many things. But if you left your home and went somewhere else, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes you get happiness, sometimes you don't get what you want. In the end, you lose everything.
Sen will not certainly make it at the July 22nd Square, where the independence celebrations are taking place. He will instead be here monitoring the event from his duty station.
First of all, independence means sustainability. You have to, if you hear independent, it means sustainability. So, like Independence Day, to work Independence Day for me is a great joy. It means, it reminds me who I am and what I am. Because being a Gambian, I'm very proud to be a Gambian. Trust me, I'm very, very proud to be a Gambian. So working Independence Day for me, I think is a blessing for me.
One major development issue, like a headed monster throughout the colonial rule and during the First Republic, was how to link two communities separated by the River Gambia. Songlakunda and Janjambure had for many years endured the problems